Hi there, welcome to the channel. I'm Marguerite with Wreaths by Marguerite. Welcome. Today we are making this beautiful storm door wreath for the Easter season. Really, you could put it through the whole spring and even the gardening season with all these carrots on here, right? Absolutely. Well, this, like I said, is a storm door wreath. That means it's designed under 4 inches deep so that you can put it behind a screen or a storm door. See that? Without it getting smushed. And it's still got a beautiful appearance from the front, even though it's nice and thin. So stick around and watch me make this beautiful creation in front of your eyes. Let's do this. Okay, let's go over the supplies I'm using for this storm door wreath and the tools. My inspiration always starts with the sign. We've got this 10 by 10 by 10 metal sign with carrots all over it with a burlap looking background. So these are the ribbons I chose to match the sign. I have the carrots that have the burlap background, and I have the carrots that have the black background, and I'm breaking it up with a color, multicolor green fun ribbon, geometric, I think that's what you'd call it. Because there are a couple of greens in the stems, I thought it would be good to have both. And then there's black and white in the actual verbiage, welcome to your home. So there's black and white here and black and white all over here, so it all ties in very well. Plus, I'm doing it on a burlap base to match the burlap base of the sign, okay? So that's the inspiration as to why I chose what. Our products that we need for this project is a 14¼ inch wreath base. This has 6 crossbars on it, going this way. And then it has 4 rings around. So we put 12 pipe cleaners on it. It's got to be the frame with the 4 rings, and it's got to be the frame with the 6 crossbars. There are some that have 7, some have 5. It's not exactly the same setup for that. This is what works perfectly with the storm door thin style wreath. So the first thing you do is you put 6 pipe cleaners around rings 1 and 2 at the crossbars. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then the other 6 go on the rings 3 and 4, but in between each crossbar. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that is our frame. And then we have our deco mesh. Let me move this over just a touch. This is what's called poly deco mesh. It has a burlap in it. It's kind of fabric. It's kind of not. Looking at it, it looks completely like burlap, but it's got a very plasticky feel for it, which makes it great for being in the outdoors as well. So since there's 12 ties, we need 12 pieces of the mesh. It's 10 inches the short way. When you're looking for it in the store, it's 10-inch mesh. And then I've cut all the pieces in 20 inches in length. You don't want to go any more, and you don't want to go less than 19 inches to be able to use the process we do for this wreath. So that's 20 inches wide by 10 inches this way, and it's 12 pieces to match the 12 pipe cleaners, okay? And then because you have 12 pipe cleaners and 12 pieces of mesh, you need 12 bundles of ribbon. Like I said, I've chosen these 3 for the reasons I stated already. These are cut at 13 inches in length. These are all 3 2.5 inch ribbons, 2.5 inches this way. You can use 1.5 inches ribbon, but this gives you more coverage of the mesh. If you're not trying to hide the mesh, you could do all 1.5 inch ribbons, but I like the look and the fullness of it with all 2.5 inches in width ribbon. So we've got 12 of each of these cut. I've put the dovetails, which is a V, at the tip on both ends. They've all been folded with finish side on the inside of an even fold. Okay, and then I've made the bundles how I want them to go on this. So this is going to go on top, this goes next, and this goes next after that. If you want to see more detailed preparation of the ribbon, go to any of my tutorials that are for kits. I do the cutting there to show you how to do it. And then I also have super detailed videos where I cut every single piece of ribbon on the video for my first videos of 2024, back when I first started. So you have a variety of ways to learn. Today everything's pre-cut and prepped because this is just a product to go into my shop to sell for the season. Where the kits, you need all the extra directions. So I leave a lot of it to do during the video when I'm doing kits. Okay, so for now I'm going to take this sign out of the way. I'm going to turn it upside down back here on this. I'll show you what I had it stored in. It helps me from scratching it. Oh, one more thing. You need, since it's metal, you could punch holes in it. I don't like the look of punching holes in it to tie it to the frame when we're done. But so I use what are called cable tie mounts. Let me get some. They're really little, 1 by 1. You find them in the hardware department. I get mine off of Amazon. Let me see. They're super small. These are black. They come with the peel-off sticker on the back with the foam with the adhesive on it. But if you're using these, come back out. Pardon. You still want to put, where is it? Super glue on the back of the pad after you pull off the cover of the sticker. A super glue. And then you go back around it with hot glue. Hot glue is not enough to keep your sign attached to your product. In extreme heat and in extreme cold, it will pop off or melt off. So having the super glue and the hot glue is an extra level of protection. I don't have to put the hot glue on them, but it allows me to actually work with the sign before the super glue is completely attached. Let me bring that back over here. I've taken 4 pipe cleaners, taken 2 top pipe cleaners, cut them in half, and put 1 on each of the cable tie mounts. In wood wreath signs, or any sign that's over 1/4 inch, you can use a staple to staple the pipe cleaners on, which you'll see in a lot of my tutorials, but you can't do that with the metal. So that is really the best way to go. All right, so let's get started. The first part of this process is going to be using the frame. We'll be using the frame the whole time, of course. And we're going to work on the outer layer first. So we're going to spread the pipe cleaners out, turning it as I do that, horizontal to me. Why do I turn it instead of reaching across the table? It puts less strain on your arms and backs when you do it that way. I'm turning it to the spot I'm working on as I'm working on it so that I don't have that strain. If you're standing, I still recommend, I do most of my preparation and creation sitting, but you can do the same thing standing. Then you're going to take your mesh, and always remember it's curl side down. You need to find your center so you can start ruffling from one end to the other. So you could use tools, but the quickest, easiest way to do it, especially when you have a solid colored mesh and you don't have a center line design to follow with your eye, I always take it and fold it in half. I put a chip clip where the fold is, turn it around to the top. It also helps to hold down your mesh while you're rolling it and give you a visual marker to know how to stay on center. So we're doing it again on this end. And my finger is where it needs to ruffle. Now there's a little piece of frayed string on there on the edge. Pull it off, it's not going to hurt anything. As you go through the project, you're going to want to get your frays as you go so you're not having to go back and try to find them. Alright, so fold it in half, find your center, and then you're going to take your thumbs on the outside of the mesh, and then you're just going to take all your fingers and crawl up the mesh, staying as close to the center as possible, bringing it all down into the thumbs. Nice, tight, small gathers. I will do the first layer this style, and then I will show you on the other second layer how to do it one-handed and why that's important to me. Of course, you can do it any way you want, but these are the techniques that I've learned through trial and error over the last 8 years. So when I get to the top, I'm almost done. I'm going to take that clip off, and I'm going to gather the rest of it in my thumb and forefinger, and I'm going to hold it loosely in my thumb and forefinger so that I can match up the edges of the mesh. You want them to be, you're trying to create a circle that's even so that when you put it in the frame, it's that way. So now I'm going to bring over the frame. My pipe cleaners are horizontal to me, and then I'm going to take the mesh up off the table and put it in here vertically. So the mesh is vertical, the pipe cleaner is horizontal. You hold it in place in one hand and bring up each side of the pipe cleaner, and you're going to twist it tight and low to the table. 1, 2, 3. You can do 2 or 3. I find that 3 is the best because then you're not having a problem with it popping open if you have to adjust the mesh. So now that I have the mesh in there, I also like to make sure that I have 5 inches on each side of the center so it's even, especially on the bottom layer, because you're going to see only the outside edges and you want it to look nice and round. Okay, so then you're going to take that outside cut edge over the inside cut edge, and it doesn't meet up. See, it's about 1 inch away, so we'll fix that after we get these in place. So this side, we're going to take that outside cut edge over the inside cut edge, okay? So this side looks good, and I can tell that it's off because there's a much more apparent tip on this side. You want it round. So we're going to pull it here by holding the pipe cleaner. That looks to be the point where that, right there, because it was dipping in over there. Then you just hold it by the pipe cleaners to adjust your mesh, never holding it from the outside edge. We want to get these two evened up, and there we go. Now, why do I do it with the mesh vertical and the pipe cleaners horizontal? Because that way all of my cut edges of the mesh are hidden within the wreath and not exposed to the outside edge. When they're exposed to the outside edge, they're going to be more likely to catch on things. Which reminds me, wear short sleeves when you're making something like this, because mesh acts like Velcro. Also, make sure you have at least 4 inches of space to work and you have it clear around you, because it will collect everything on the table as you turn the wreath if you don't do these things. If you are wearing long sleeves, just roll them up to your elbow or above. You might still catch it, but just be cautious when you're working with it. And it especially sticks to itself, so as I get more pieces on, it will interfere, but not a big deal. So I'm going to put these pipe cleaners up and out of the way. And when I put these in, I skip one and then go to this one. And then I'll skip this one and go to this one. I do the first 3 and then I go back and do the other 3 on top. And it helps it to stay in that nice thin format so that if you are doing this creation to put on a door that has a screen or a storm door, it will fit in that 4 inches of space that you have between those 2 doors. If it's not going there, it's not as crucial to make sure it's super flat. This still looks a little bit fluffy, but once all the layers are on there, that's going to lay down pretty darn flat. All right, so I move it out of the way again so I can gather the next piece. Curl side down always. Always, always. I use the end of the table to uncurl it. It helps. As you make more and more, you'll find what's most comfortable for you and works best for you. So I turned it around, and I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Mark it with my finger, and then start gathering it all into my thumbs. My thumbs are outside of the mesh, and I'm taking all of my fingers. Pardon. This has been quite the cold and flu year for me. And my cough tends to last till, I don't know, 6 months. Excuse me. And talking a lot makes me dry, so I cough more then too. So I've ruffled it up the center. I've got it up here. I'm going to gather that last little bit into my thumb and forefinger. Hold it loosely again. Not holding the outside edge. I'm bringing that up. And I'm bringing that down just a little bit to get it nice and round. I hear the Roomba upstairs running into something. Hopefully you cannot. So I'm bringing the frame back over. And I'm putting this in the frame vertical. This is a little awkward for me. I tend to take my wreath ring and turn it slightly at an angle to put this stuff in, and I'm trying really hard to do it straight up and down. It's not easy for me. It's uncomfortable, I should say. So now I gotta move everything because I did it at the angle, the straight up instead of at an angle. So now I'm gonna take that outside cut edge and I'm gonna put it over the inside cut edge. If it fights with you, the mesh, turn it under a little bit. That helps as well. And then I'm going to take that outside edge over the inside edge. Well, I'm looking at this. It's a little over 5 inches, so I need to pull the inside up just a little bit. down by the pipe cleaners. I'm holding it by the pipe cleaners. That helps keep the pipe cleaners twisted and not open up on you. That one. Okay. So to stay in place if you turn it over under a little bit. It may not stay there, but that's okay. Not the end of the world. So that is 5 inches, right? Yep. Never handle the edges of your mesh or your ribbon by pulling on them, because that'll change the design, and in the ribbon you'll have to trim your ribbon, and that takes away from the length of it. So I've did that one, skipped, did that one, skipping this one, and then I'm going to come back and do this one. Curl side down, fold it in half, clip it at the center so you have your visual as well as it's holding the mesh down on the table and not curling up on you. Same thing on the other side. And we're gathering with our thumbs on the outside. Using all the fingers. Try to gather each side at the same time so you have even ruffles. Take that off, put it into your thumb and forefinger loosely. And a special appearance by my best friend Maggie May, the Chocolate Lab. Pull that out just a touch more. I'll give it a green. I'm turning it because this is more comfortable for me. It's still in front of me, but I'm turning it at a slight angle. It's either that way or that way a little bit, just because of the way I sit. I suppose I could turn my chair and it'd be even easier, but you know, old habits die hard. So we got that in there. There's some frayed mesh there getting in my way, but I'll cut that off once I get this in here. I don't want to have to re-ruffle it. 2, 3 twists. Let's get that off. I didn't talk about the tools, did I? Let me get this third one straightened away. She's flinging her bone at me because she wants to play, but that's not in the cards right now, baby. Sorry. We'll do that after a while. Go see if Charlie the cat's outside. Go see if Charlie's out there. Come on. Some mesh frays more than others. A lot of it depends on how much you handle it. That's really loud. I have a new glass mat for my chair, and ooh, she keeps dropping that bone on it, and it's like ear piercing for me. So I apologize in advance. Go lay on your doggy bed over there. Don't give me that look. We all know who the real boss is, right? And it's not me. Okay, so that's definitely more than 5 inches. She looks at me like, excuse me, lady? You work for me. All right, so I will be back once I get the rest of this layer placed, and then I'll have a couple ribbon bundles on there to get started. Okay, I finished the other 3 pieces of mesh on the bottom layer, and I started attaching the ribbon. I went ahead and, pardon, attached the first 3 bundles of ribbon every other spot. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the other 3 in between it, so I want to make sure the pipe cleaners are up. Now with the mesh, the pipe cleaners needed to go horizontal. With the ribbon, it goes vertical because the ribbon goes in horizontal. So we're getting those all ready to put them in, and we're doing the next 3. Now I've decided that I want to put the black carrot ribbon on top on these 3, so it's every other. So I'm just going to flip this to the top and put the orange one to the bottom. Real quick. Get that out of the way. I like to get all the prep done before I do the actual assembly. It makes it go a little quicker, especially for me. Quicker is important, especially if I'm doing shows during show season. All right, so now we have pipe cleaners vertical. We're going to take our ribbon bundles and we're going to place them on the table. And where we creased it nice and deep, that's my center. So I'm just going to take my fingers and gather up the center to the top, put it in my thumb and forefinger, and then I'm going to bring the tails down to the edge of the table towards me. So it looks like a V to you, but it's upside to me. Gathering causes it to pucker up in the base right by where your fingers are, so I try to pop that out a little bit before I put it in, and then I'm putting it into the pipe cleaner horizontally. I'm going to take that pipe cleaner and just like with the mesh, I'm going to twist it tight and low to the table 3 times. 1, 2, 3. But now I'm going to twist upwards towards the ceiling 6 to 8 times till I create a 1 to 1.5 inch twist. And then I'm going to cut what's not twisted off. Okay? You can tuck this down into the mesh now, but I usually 8 out of 10 times do it after I position the ribbon. So now what I'm going to do is just like I did on these. If you notice, the orange is down and the black is down on the other side, and then up and up. I'm going to do the same thing here, except I'm going to do, you always lift the top 2 up. I lost my train of thought, sorry. You always lift the top 2 up and away. Then I'm going to position this one up here, run my fingers over the edges to make sure the wire is straight, and I pop out any bubbles at the top. Then lift the top one away from the second one, position that green one, and then bring this one down, popping those little divots out, pockets, down like that. So now on the other side, I'm going to go opposing order. So I'm going to lift it all up, and this time I'm going to lift and separate the top 2 from the orange and bring it down. So that means we're going to have orange down and black down. Okay? And that way too, the orange is next to the black, the orange is next to the black, the orange is next to the black. So let's get the other 2 in place. Lift, separate, position. Make any adjustments you need. And then separate and position. And then I like to hold the ribbon down a little bit when I'm pushing the pipe cleaner in, because I know that this is going to go 9 out of 10 chances it's going to go on a screen or behind a screen or a storm door. So see that? Let's do the other 2. Okay. So then I'm going to ruffle up the center, bring the edges down to the center towards me. Let me rephrase that. Bring the tips of the tails down to the edge of the table towards me. So it's an inverted V for me. I'm going to lift it up. I'm going to put it in the pipe cleaner horizontally. I'm going to bring that pipe cleaner up. I'm going to twist it tight and low to the table. 1, 2, 3, and then twist up towards the ceiling to create a twist of 1 inch to 1.5 inches long, and then cut off the excess that is not twisted. Throw it in the trash. Okay? And again, by doing 3 and then doing the other 3, they sit neatly in a pattern on top of each other, which adds more dimension and character as well. So up, position, up, position, get those little bubbles out, and then position the last one. Making sure your ribbon is all standing tall, not upside down. Okay, so now this is, I'm turning the wreath when I'm doing that, so I'm not straining my back or arms. Lift, separate, position. Notice I'm not handling the tips of the ribbon. Lift, separate, position. Okay, let's see. I like to push it down. That's up to you if you do that or not. Either way, you need to push that cut tip of the pipe cleaner into the frame. It's not going to go all the way through the back, but it hides your mechanics so no one can see it. They're really not going to on this layer anyway, because it's going to be covered by the second layer of mesh and ribbon. And then let's do this last piece of ribbon for this layer, and I'll lift it up to show you where we're at right now. Notice I push it away, generally speaking, while I'm working on the ribbon. Got that gathered, inverted V, bring this over, put it in, tight and low 3 times, and upwards to the ceiling 6 to 8 times to create a 1 to 1.5 inch twist. Cut the excess above the twist off, throw it in the trash. Lift, separate, position. lift, separate, position, lift, separate, and position. Get all those little bubbles out of there, those little gathering pockets. Now do the same on the other side, except we're bringing the orange down instead of up. Lift, separate, position. Lift, separate, position. There we go. I'm holding everything in place. The important thing is you at least see the tips of the ribbon on this layer at the outside edge, because the next layer is going to cover a lot of this. All right, is that all the phrase? So there we have it. I'm going to do the mesh for the next layer, and I will be back to do the ribbon with you again. Okay, I'm back. I decided not to do all the mesh on the top layer without you, because I did promise you to show you a second technique to put the mesh in. So since I was gone, I pulled up the pipe cleaners in between each piece of mesh from the bottom layer. I laid them open on the first three to put the mesh in. So I put this one, I skip this one, skip this one, skip this. So now I'm going to lay these out so they're ready for me. It really helps, because we don't have three hands, to have them positioned so you're not trying to position them when you have a ruffle in your hand. Okay, so now I'm going to turn one piece, curl side down as always, still going to clip it at the top, still going to fold it on the bottom to find my center, but I'm going to start off gathering it in both hands just to get started, but then I'm going to use my hand up here to hold it down and be ahead of my gather. It's particularly helpful when you get to the inside of the rolls of mesh. The further into the roll of mesh, the tighter these curls are, and the more that they fight you when you're trying to ruffle them. So this not only serves as a guide for staying on center, but it also helps hold your mesh down so that it's not interfering with you trying to gather it. If I wasn't using my phone, I would probably have that up here instead of the clip, because it's heavier. Some people have like a little pet rock to put there on their desk too, and that helps. So now I'm just going to take one hand and hold it taut and gather it with one hand, holding that mesh down. This is my preferred way to ruffle. So there you go, same thing, hold it loosely, make adjustments, come back over here and put it in here, twist it tight and low, making sure you centered it. Always remember you centered it, because you want half of the mesh on either side of the center. So that's 3 twists tight and low. I'll lift them out of the way for now. And then I'm going to take the outside cut edge over the inside cut edge. Outside cut edge over the inside cut edge. You know what else with that ruffling technique? I find I'm more accurate a lot more of the time with the edges evening up on both sides. Let's do this one. Same technique, curl side down, using that table to uncurl it. Fold it directly in half, clipping it at the top. Now I know that's my center. Do the same on this side to find my center. Start gathering with 2 hands, and then move your one hand above and just stay focused on that center space so you gather straight up. Take the clip off, hold it tight. Nope, hold it loosely in your thumb and forefinger. Make any adjustments you need, bring it over to the wreath. I will say that the reason I do it this way 80% of the time is because I like the technique better than the first one. But when I have a day where I'm making 8, 10, 12 wreaths, I mix it all up because it gives me a little variety in what I'm doing and it doesn't become monotonous. And we don't ever want something fun to become monotonous and boring. Where's the fun in that? So I'm taking that outside cut edge over the inside cut edge. Bring these out of the way. Taking that outside cut edge over the inside cut edge. Need a little adjustment on this one. Not much. Okay. And I've said it before, whenever you can get the outside edges to let you curl it under a little bit, go for it. It may not stay like that, but it does help it stay in place really well. That magnet. Okay. cutting those frays as we go still. So then we're going to do this final one. So curl side down. Use that table to unroll it. Fold it directly in half. Clip the top. Remember, with a mesh with a pattern, it's a lot easier to stay centered when you gather, but this really helps you stay focused visually as well as keeping your mash flat on the table. Going down here, folding in half, find my center, and I'm going to start gathering here, and then we're just going to keep going with one hand, focusing on that chip clip at the top of your eyes. Gather it up the center. Put it all back into your thumb and forefinger loosely. Make any adjustments while you have it loosely in your hand. This one's, the last one is going to give me fits, right? Okay, here we go. Last but not least, that mesh goes in vertically into the horizontal pipe cleaner. Tight and low, we're going to twist that towards the table. 3 times, 2, 3. Bring those pipe cleaners up and out of the way. Take that outside edge over the inside edge. Outside cut edge over the inside cut edge. Now take the other outside edge, cut edge over the inside cut edge. Hold it from the pipe cleaner. Make any adjustments to your mesh to make sure your edges are even so it looks like a circle. This is kind of pointy, so we need to pull over here where it's dented in or pulled in to get rid of those little points. This one's particularly big, so that's why we got that big old point over here. All right, and that's the rest of the mesh. And let's get started with the ribbon tails. Okay, so now on the top layer, remember, ribbon goes in horizontally, so your pipe cleaners go vertically. And we're going to do the same thing on top. There's going to be a slight difference. Got these all in position. Need to pardon. It's very windy today too. Ooh. Okay. Just sip of tea. And I think I'm ready to go again. Okay. So same thing we're going to do every other. So I'm going to go ahead and get these 3 that are going to have the black on top flipped. So I need to put this on the top and this on the bottom. And I'm going to put these 3 on last so there's more black towards the sign. So to help frame it more and not blend in so much because the sign base is burlap. This will set it up. Set it off a little bit. Okay, so let's get started with the first 3. Now, we need to bring the sign back into the picture for a moment. This is a perfectly square sign. So when you have square signs and round signs, the shape of the sign is not all that important to be seen. If you understand what I'm about to say, you can put the ribbon on this layer before or after the sign. If you have a shape that's like an egg or a star or a heart or any other different shapes other than the square or rectangle or round, you're going to want to put your ribbon on first and then the sign. Otherwise, you're not going to see the shape of the heart. You're not going to see that it's an egg and not a circle. You're not going to see the point of the stars because they're going to be hidden under the ribbon tails. So in this particular project, I'm going with putting the sign on first. So let's do that. First thing I'm going to do is pull these pipe cleaners out of the way. I had them positioned because I forgot. Okay. And what you want to do, and I'm going to stand for this. You want to make sure that one set of pipe cleaners is at 12 o'clock and one is at 6 o'clock, so you know where your center of the wreath is, so you properly place your sign. Let me get that price tag off of there. I missed that. I must have wrote it on there before I put the tape on. There we go. So I'm pulling the pipe cleaners to the outside so I can see them while I'm placing them. And I am going to turn it upside down to me so you can see. Keeping this out, and I'll show you in a few moments why. So since we want this to be where that pipe cleaner is and this to be where this one is, this is our center. And then these should be between these two. So that should be right there, and that should be there. And this is where this little tool that I haven't told you about yet comes in. It's a plastic embroidery needle. It's 6 inches long. I use this to pull the pipe cleaners through the mesh. It's much less difficult to do that than by hand. By all means, do it by hand. I did it for years until one of my mentors in the wreath making community discovered this works really well. Alleviates a lot of frustration in your creation time. Plus saves you a few minutes. Sit back down. Oh, I forgot I had the footrest out. Marguerite's having all sorts of issues today. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and put it slightly under the sign at an angle through the mesh to the back of the wreath. I'm going to lift the wreath so I can find the needle on the back side. Put the tip of the pipe cleaner through, pull it all the way through, and then I'm going to do that one next. So when you do this, we recommend that you do an X formation. So this way and then this way when you're attaching the pipe cleaners. That helps you settle the sign in evenly so it's not popped up on one side and pulled down on the other. So we'll do the same thing. I'm aligning the needle with the pipe cleaner in the mesh in the actual creation. So, because I know that's my center. Put that over it and pull it through. I might try to put one without this just to show you. See why I save this? Put it on the sign, hold it in place, and flip it over. I probably should have used burlap colored pipe cleaners, but I did not, so it is what it is. Think about that when you're attaching pipe cleaners to your sign, if you're making these to sell or to give away, because if somebody has a glass insert on the door like I do, you want it to look uniform on the back of the wreath so that it's not standing out and looking funny. So I'm going to press down a little bit on the frame. I don't want the sign to be buried where it looks like it's pulling, but I want it settled in there so that it doesn't move when it shakes. So I'm just going to wrap this pipe cleaner around the frame until I've used it all up. And when I get to the end, I take that point on the pipe cleaner and push it down in towards the front of the wreath so that if there is a glass door, and regardless otherwise, it won't scratch the glass door, but you don't want it to scratch the paint either. So I'm going to lift it. We're not going to twist it because that's where scratches come on the signs. And I'm going to wrap this around. I usually try to wrap these around where there isn't pipe cleaner from the mesh. That way it's all in one place and it's more stable that way to keep the sign from flip-flopping. So there are those two. And actually, for the sake of showing you, it's good that it's a different color. Put this to the side for a minute. My Roomba's talking to me. A Roomba, if you don't know, is a robot vacuum. Okay, so I'm going to do this one with the needle, and then I'll do that one without. So slightly under the sign at an angle, away from the edge of the table. Lift it up so you can find the needle. Get that through. I had it bent, so what happened? It went through, but didn't pull it all the way through because I had a bend in the pipe cleaner. I need to undo the bend. It's not doing it itself. Okay, so that's in there. So now I'm going to do this one without the needle. So I'm just going to lift it up, push it through the mesh, and making sure no ribbon's in the way. It won't go through the ribbon, and if it does, it's going to damage it, and we don't want that happening. So that went through pretty easily. To the back, I'm going to take this again to cover the sign to protect it. And then we're going to do the same thing again. I'm going to hold it down just a touch. Twist it till it's gone. And before I do the other side, I see several pieces of fray. We want the back to look clean too, even though they're not going to see that. Okay, let me turn it to do the other side. I'm going to get the frays out of the way first. You cannot alleviate all fraying. There are people that use a wood burner to cut their mesh, and of course, make sure you do that in a ventilated area, preferably outside. It helps, but it's not going to eliminate it entirely. So I just don't do it unless I'm doing a creation on what's called a unique in the creek board. Bring that around. Hold it down a little bit. Push that tip down in, and then we have that completed. I'm going to put it over there. I like to reuse things. Now, I probably messed up the ribbon on the bottom layer, wrinkled it a little bit. We'll fix that in the end. So now I'm just going to make sure these are on the outside of the sign. There's a couple of frays here I want to take care of on the front side as well. Granted, they'll be hidden by the ribbon, but I just don't like the idea of it being there. Bring these up, and they're going to go vertical because the ribbon's going to go in horizontal. So I'm going to put every other in first. And I do 6 o'clock and 12 o'clock last. That might be a little confusing. So that's going to be one of these here and one of these here. So we'll do those last, okay? So I usually do I may have to eat my own words. Let me think about this for a second. So this will go here. Sometimes you have to do it this way just to make sure you get it right and you're not duplicating your work, okay? So I'm going to do it that way so I remember that I have them every other. So I'm going to start here. So here's the top. So I'll do this one, then this one. Then I'll do this one, then this one. Then I'll do these two. Laying these two last, they lay nicely on top of those on the side. And it also makes it look like every other is on top. Okay? So, wrong one. This one. Alright. So I'm opening up my bundle. I'm gathering it up the center. This time I decided, since I put the sign on first and I don't need all the ribbon facing the outer edge, I'm not going to do the inverted V. I'm just going to put it in this way. Twist it. Tighten low 2 to 3 times. And then just put it up in the air out of the way. We're not going to do anything with that now. So I have it directly in front of me, so it's straight in front of me. And I'm going to lift these up. And instead of on the bottom where I had one beige one up and one down, and one black one down and then one black one up, I'm going to do the same on both sides. So I want the black one closest to the sign. I'll lift, separate, position. And this layer I'm going to give it a little bit of a curl. Lift, separate, position. And then I'm just going to position and curl. Now, if you have a pen or a pencil around the house, I would recommend using that if you have it. But I have these little wooden dowels. I use this to help curl it. I actually learned this from a customer. Gives it a little bit more curl. Now, you don't have to do that. But if you don't have a storm door, it makes it bigger and fluffier. That's how I do it for shows. But even if you do have a storm door, it's just going to lay it down a little bit. It will not look smushed. That I can assure you. Or you can just do it straight out, which I'll do on this side to show you. So I'm going to lift, separate, pull it into position, lift, separate, and position. And I'm also getting those little divots out, so I could do it completely flat. Either way looks really good. I'm going to go with completely flat today. I don't know if I've done that in a while, so let me go ahead and get them all nice and flat and positioned and unwrinkled. We will address the pipe cleaners once they're all on. So, get that curl out of there. Still ignoring the ribbon on the bottom layer. We won't fix that till we're completely done. It's one of the last things we do. Same thing here. Ruffle up the center. No inverting the ribbon into a V. Put that in there, making sure it's directly in front of you. Not like over there. And you're going to bring it right in front of you. So this time we're going to have the black to the outside edge of the wreath. Lift, separate, position. Get those little bubbles out. Lift, separate, position. And then position that there. And we went with the flat look this time. Do the same thing. I notice I turned it so I can work on it more comfortably. Make sure that ribbon's turned right side out. Lift, separate, position. Get out of there, bubble. Bring these out of the way. Okay, let's go to the other side and do this one. So we're going to have the black on top on this particular one. I'm going to gather that a little bit tighter. That I just gathered it and it was like way too big of the gathers. The tighter you gather it, the better it lays. Twist. 1, 2, 3. Then bring this out of the way for now. So we want the black up and the orange down. So lift, separate, position. I kind of did it in one fell swoop there. Practice makes it easier for you to do that. Those little bubbles out. And I'm pushing it down a little bit, just like I did on the bottom, because we're trying to keep this flat. Flatter. Separate position. Lift, separate position. Go. Make sure that's good there. Now we're going to do this one with the orange on top. Ruffle. I call it ruffling and gathering intermittently, so it's the same thing to me. Twist. 1, 2, 3. I'll lift these up out of the way. This time the black's going towards the edge of the table and the orange up towards the sign. You can pull on it pretty aggressively. These are all linen ribbons in this particular case, and none of it's been bonded together. Like if you see striped colored ribbon, stripes this way, a lot of times it's bonded 3 colors. That you want to be a little bit more careful with when you're pulling on it. And you notice I'm not touching the tips where I cut the ribbon. Keeping that so I don't have to cut any off. The more you have to cut off, the smaller it's going to be. These need to stay on top of the ones next to it. Okay, so I'm going to do the bottom one first. So these are all done in position. This will have the black on top and then the orange on each side. See how that worked out nicely? You can only really do this on a wreath that has an even number of ties on each layer. Keep that in mind. That's also why the 6 crossbars come into play. Remember in the beginning, if it had 5 or 7, you'd have to make sure your bundles are all exactly the same, because otherwise you'll have 2 the same next to each other. And we don't want that. If you try to do 2 designs and they're next to each other. The only time I ever do that is if I'm in a bind and I know I'm going to put a bow over it. I make sure the bow goes over the section with 2 that are exactly the same next to each other. I've done that. No one will ever know. Well, you know now, but okay, so this is going to have the black up, pardon me. Lift, separate, position. Lift, separate, and position. those bubbles, those divots out. Lift, separate, position, and it moves around on you. You just move it back. Don't be discouraged. Make sure the black ones are even across the bottom. You see an equal amount of your ribbon from the other two. And make sure they're above the ones on the sides. And then we're going to turn it one more time to put this in the top. These moved on me. Stop doing that. Okay. Open your bundle. Ruffle down that center. Place it in there. Pardon me, I'm getting to the end and I'm really dry. Get this up and out of the way. So we want the black to the edge of the table, the orange towards the sign. So lift, separate, position. Get those little bubbles out, divots, whatever you want to call them. Lift, separate, position, and position there. And one more side, and then we'll address the pipe cleaners. So, let me get a sip. Sorry, guys. Lift, separate, position. Lift, separate, position. Remembering I'm keeping them flat. So that's what we have so far. I hope it's brighter in the video because on my camera, on my phone, it looks, I don't see any of the orange. Okay, but there's a lot. All right, now here comes another couple tools. We're done with the chip clip. I apologize for not talking about them in the first place. We're done with the needle. And we're done with the scissors unless we find more frays. So I'm going to go ahead and put it away now. Don't need the needle nose. That would be something I use if I don't use the needle to pull the sign through and the pipe cleaner on the back is just ever so close to the edge and I can't get a grip on it. Sometimes my hands get tired and that's my extra strength. Okay, so now we're going to need this, the wire cutters, and the pencil, pen, or the wooden dowel. My goodness. All right, so you've got a couple of choices on how you want to handle the pipe cleaner. The first thing I do, no matter what, is they're different lengths now, so I even them up. That's just my thing. Whatever we do, no one's going to notice that because it's all going to be hidden, but it's just a habit I have. And why one length of the pipe cleaner is a little longer than the other is just dependent on how you twist them, what direction you go in when you're putting the mesh and ribbon in. It is not a factor in any way, shape, or form. But that's why one side would be longer than the other. For me, in my head, it's more finished even though the customer can't see it. Okay, just a touch there. All right. You have a couple options. My favorite way to do it is just to curl it down. So the one side is curled away from me and one side is curled down from me. That's my favorite way to do it right there. The other way is to do the same thing. Not one other way. Curl the one away from you. Curl the one down towards you. And you could take the ends and get little spirals there. You could do that. You could also, especially with patriotic wreaths, I like to put those glittery balls, styrofoam balls on the tips and leave it like that. Kind of looks like a firecracker. Or the other way that you can do it is just twist, like on the bottom layer, after we twisted the first 3 twists down and low to the table, we twisted up to make a 1.5 inch twist. I just twisted up enough, and then I lift one side of the ribbon up. I bring it around to the back, and then I cut the excess off except for a very small stub, and then position my ribbon where I want it to be. And then all you have is a little stub of pipe cleaner there. You would also use this technique if you were adding buttons to the middle. I've done it in the past with carrots, stars, ladybugs, sunflowers, all sorts of things. You just have to make sure it's the ring, it's the type of button that has a shank on it. That means a little loop on the back of the button. But we're not doing that today. Same process, you would, after the first 3 tight and low twists, you would put the button on one side and then twist it up, tuck it behind, push your button down in the correct direction right here, and then cut the excess off the back, and then reposition your ribbon how you want it to sit. Okay, so let me put my ribbon all back, and then I'll go back and do them all like that. Having just a little nubby here is great also. A tip when you're doing a wreath that potentially or probably will be going to a man. Like I do a lot of military wreaths, and this is a little bit foo-foo for a man, and this is a little bit more foo-foo for a man. I don't know how else to put it other than foo-foo. You could put lots of things there. You could put felt, little bitty felt. Like I had witch hats that were felt, so I've done that for Halloween. You know, you could put whatever in there. You could take deco mesh tubing, which I haven't done in a while. I should really do that in there and make these little bow ties out of them. They're nice and sparkly, but this is not a sparkly wreath. So let me fix this how I want it to sit. Curling it away from me. And this is going to curl towards me. I didn't do it right. Okay. So that's 3. Let me do the other 3. I guess cutting the tips off of the pipe cleaner even helps make these even on each side so one's not bigger than the other. So I guess there is more than just visual satisfaction for me by evening them out. Now that I've thought about it a little more. Twisting that one away from me. They're all going to be even in size. Twist this one away from me. Little carrots would be amazing here. What do they call that? I'll think of it in a minute. Not raffia. Well, some of them are raffia. Little bitty bitty rustic looking carrots. Sissel. I have a sissel rabbit on one of the wreaths in my Etsy shop. But that's mostly. They also make felt and other fabric. Carrots, of course, if you can find some small enough, or if you want to put some florals on this and some carrots, that's good too. I did one last year or the year before where I did a Storm Door Wreath and then I added florals behind the ribbon and on top, so it hid these little stubs of pipe cleaner. Okay, so now we're going to go around. I'm going to stand for this. And straighten out all my ribbon, starting with the top. That needs to come down a little bit more. I'm looking at both sides so that they mirror each other well. This needs to come out a little bit more that way. So we have that about even. Okay. We're keeping it nice and flat. And now we're going to go around the outside and lift the mesh up from the top layer. Don't just pull on the ribbon on the bottom layer. Lift up the mesh to bring your ribbon out to the edge, straighten it out. We want to see the tips of all that beautiful ribbon. Get that all positioned. I bent most of the tips working on the top layer, so they have definitely all needed their tips straightened out. Yeah, if you don't lift up the mesh before you position the ribbon, it sticks to it, and then you pull on it and it puts fray in the ribbon and potentially in the mesh. You don't want that. So, did it end still? Yeah. Piece of wire hanging out of this piece of ribbon. That happens. Sometimes the wire settles in the ribbon. Just cut it off. Put these away because we're done with this. We're done with this. Try to clean as you go. Alright. I think that'll do it. Let me turn it around and show it to you. It's complete. Well, there you have it complete. Super easy, right? And all of the tools and all of the materials were explained to you. So if this is something that you'd like to do yourself, feel free and share with me. I would love to see your creations here on the page. I miss not seeing them so much lately. If you like what you see on the page, you enjoy the tutorials, whether you're learning yourself or you just enjoy the entertainment, stick around and subscribe. You'll get notifications for my tutorials, which are every Sunday, 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time right here. It's Wreaths by Marguerite LLC on YouTube, but it's also Wreaths by Marguerite LLC on Facebook. So if you want notifications or to see other product other than just what I'm making on these tutorials, that's the place to go to see it, as well as my Etsy shop. Everything is Wreaths by Marguerite. I also am on Instagram and Pinterest as well under the handle Wreaths by Marguerite. The only ones you have to have the LLC added to the end of the name, Wreaths by Marguerite LLC, are here on YouTube and on Facebook. Thank you for joining me for another great tutorial for the Easter and spring season. I know your time is valuable, and the fact that you spend some of your time with me means a lot to me. So thank you so much. Enjoy and have a great day, and we'll see you next Sunday. Bye.